users, it's me, Coral. Welcome back to my channel. Long time no see. I wanted to introduce you to our new kitten. This is Crash, or Trash, depending on whether he's behaving or not. Anyway, I am here today with the books that I ended up reading in July. I actually read 6 books this month. I didn't have a lot of time to read, but I really pumped a couple out, ow, in a couple days. The cat's eating my feet now. So I did end up reading 6 books, which is, I think, double what I read last month. So I'm pretty pleased with that. Well, my camera doesn't want to focus on my face either, so all in all, things are going poorly. The cat is eating things. My camera is being fucking weird. Ooh, it's hot as fuck in here. But here are the things that I read this month. So I have a couple book stats here. Like I said, in total I read 6 books, which was 18,000. Oh my god, 18,000. No, 1,815 pages, which is about 65 pages a day. I read 4 horror books, 1 history nonfiction book, and a paranormal romance book. I've read one. I've read one this month. Let's see, the oldest book I read was published in 1976. Then we jumped to 2017, 2020, 2021, 2022, and a new release, 2023. So let's get into the 2 that I don't have physical copies of, so I don't forget that they are here. First one, not a ton to say about it. This is Homesteading the Plains by R.C. Edwards, J.K. Friefeld, and R.S. Wingo. I read this for a paper I wrote for school, and you know what? I'm gonna fucking count it because I read it. I read the whole thing. This was a history book on like westward expansion, homesteading in the West. I wrote a paper on it. I got 100% on my paper, so I was very fucking pleased with that. I put a lot of work into it. This book was just fine. It gave me the information that I needed. I don't know if it really has like a super interesting narrative. However, it is not, it was like a scholarly thing. You know what I mean? It wasn't really supposed to have a narrative. So for what it was a fine book. It helped me with what I needed and helped me write a great paper. Then I read Maeve Fly by CJ Leede. This I had as an ARC from NetGalley forever ago, and you know, I just knew I needed to finally finish it up. So this is a horror book. This came out this year in 2023, and this was a hard hitter. This is about a young woman named Maeve Fly. She lives definitely a life of privilege at this point. She lives with her elderly grandmother, who was like an old Hollywood star, and Maeve is really obsessed with like old Hollywood, with Halloween, with some other things. She has some proclivities for sure. She ends up meeting her best friend's brother, and together they kind of egg each other on toward a dark path. And this is a path that Maeve is already kind of on, but he really awakens something in her, and it gets really dark. There's definitely some content warnings, so if you are sensitive to anything, like, I would check that out. You have to read responsibly. This definitely has some content that might be not so fun for some people, but I ended up really liking this book. What I loved the most, I think, is that Maeve has these things. She's kind of a creature of habit, and she is just like 100% not apologetic about anything she likes, you know, like birthday cake vodka. She drinks pina coladas, like that's her drink. She works at Disneyland, and she really loves being I think she probably plays Elsa, I'm assuming, like her Ice Princess character. She loves it. She loves her job. And these are things that, I don't know. I mean, I could really get into like how the world portrays girly things that women like. Girly things, right? Like girly drinks, like pina coladas and cupcake or birthday cake vodka. Like those are things that might be poo-pooed because they're girly, and that's kind of synonymous with being like flaky and flighty and of no substance, you know what I mean? Vapid. But Maeve is not those things, and she unapologetically likes things that society sees as that, which is really an interesting part of that book, I think. And I'm probably looking way too far into that. But that was like something that, I mean, the ending really hits you, but that is something that's really stuck with me since I finished this book too, is that thing about her just being who she is, liking what she likes, fuck what everyone says about it. There's no opinions of, well, I just like this because, you know, there's no excuses, there's no anything. She just likes it, and that's how it is. And I really fucking loved that part of that book. It was gruesome, it was weird and fantastic. And I really wasn't sure if I would like it because the hype is strong with it, and a lot of books like that I read and I don't end up loving. So this was a pleasant surprise that that this book was everything the hype made it out to be, and maybe a little bit more. So that was Maeve Fly. I also read Cannibals by Guy Smith this month. This was published in 1976. And this is exactly what the title says it is. It's about these cannibals in, I think, Scotland. There's a small village, and one of the villagers decides to make like these little chalets. And he builds like 3 of them and starts advertising them. And the other townspeople are like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. And you're like, well, what's wrong? What's wrong, you know? And then you find out it's because the villagers live alongside these cannibals that live in the mountains near the village. And they are these inbred mutants. And actually, this is a case of the thing on the cover, the monster on the cover, being exactly what the monster in the book looks like. So that's kind of cool. They definitely aren't your typical, just like your off-season cannibals. Like, these guys have something weird going on. They've got this like third eye. They've got webbed fingers and these terrible sharp teeth. You know, this guy, he's renting out these chalets. He knows he probably shouldn't be. I don't know why he decides to do this. It seems like a really terrible decision, and it turns out to be a terrible decision because the cannibals start eating the guests. And then the villagers have to, you know, rescue them and stuff. And really, this gets right into it. There's no dilly-dally. It gets right into it. But that was, I think, the problem I had with the pacing, though, is that it's this really drawn out, like, thing. I don't know how to. It's like the cannibals come in so early that it feels really drawn out, like these conflicts with the cannibals. And I don't know, the pacing was weird to me. It felt like it was very action-packed, but also somehow very slow-paced. So I don't know. This is my first Guy Smith book. I don't think I didn't like it, but I didn't love it, that's for sure. I read the whole thing and I was like, huh, now I've read that. I also read Tell Me I'm Worthless by Alison Rumfitt. This came out in 2021 in the UK. I don't think it came out until early this year, the year that we're in America. What? It didn't come out in America until this year. That's what I'm trying to fucking say. I'm sorry, it's been a really long time since I've filmed anything, and my brain, I didn't sleep really last night, and so my brain is, it's trying. But I really did enjoy this book. This follows 2 women. There is Isla and there is Alice. Alice is a trans woman, and Isla was at one point her friend and lover, and they had this really big falling out, which happened the same night that their mutual friend Hannah disappeared in this house they were in called Albion. And this is a really interesting book where the haunted house is a character, and I think that's really cool, honestly. At this point, Alice and Isla do not speak. They actually, it's like worse than not speaking, you know. It's like it's contentious and they hate each other. They both have this recollection that the other did something wrong, and they both don't remember it the way that the other person remembers it, which is kind of interesting. And I won't get into like what exactly they think happened. It's pretty brutal, though. I will say this is another one where you definitely need to check content warnings if you're sensitive to anything. But I thought that this was great. It has great prose. I loved the house in this, that it was a character in and of itself, and you get to kind of discover why it became the way it is. And it's really, this book really is about hatred and like what hatred does and how hatred can taint things. And it was really good. It was powerful. The end especially, it's another one where the end makes you feel bad. So, you know, make sure, read at your own risk, read responsibly, all that shit. But I thought that was a total banger. All right, I also read Until Summer Comes Around by Glenn Rolfe, which you might have read with me. I'm going to do a spoiler-free review here, but I will do a full spoiler discussion in another video. I'm not sure if I'll post that before or after this, so just keep your eye out for that if you read this, or if you don't mind spoilers and want to have a discussion with me about it, blah, blah, blah. You get what I mean. So this came out in 2020, and my copy is a little bit beat up. It has cat bite marks. I won't say who, but somebody did bite this book. And this was a pretty good like summer coming of age story. This is about a 15, 16-year-old boy named Rocky who meets a girl named November. He lives in a town that has a really busy summer tourist season, and she is an out-of-towner. So this has like this really nice like summer teen fling feel to it, coming of age. And Rocky finds out that November has this deep dark secret. It's a family secret, and her brother Gabriel shares this secret, and he does not approve of this relationship November has with Rocky, and things get really bad. The problem I have, I guess, is that it didn't bring anything new to the table, you know what I mean? Like, it is just a really classic, and I guess that's not a problem, because if you're looking for a really classic summer coming of age story, and there is this other trope in here that like the back really alludes to, but I don't want to say just in case, I guess, but it is good for what it is. The writing's okay. There's this part of the plot where there are these people going missing, tourists and locals alike, a high number of people. It's very strange, right? And so that is in the plot too, and we're kind of following some of these other people who these events are happening to, and I like that. It felt very Stephen King-y in the way that he really fleshes out the town that you're in, and I think Glenn Rolfe did that really well. So this felt like a real place. It felt like a summer beach town, you know what I mean? And this had great summer vibes, honestly. I think that, like I said, I'm at the point with my reading where, because I don't have as much time to read now, it's like I'm really looking for something exceptional when I do have the chance to read. And this was perfect for what it is. However, maybe I wish that there was just like a little something more in there. But I still like this. you know? And like I said, it really hits, really ticks all my boxes for my summer horror. And last, I read Court of the Vampire Queen by Katee Robert. This came out in 2022. Let's see. I have never read a book that I knew was like erotica or smut going into it. I've read books with sex scenes. I've read books that are like fantasy with smut in them, right? But like the point of the book is not the fucking. And the point of this book was 100% the fucking, because the plot was abysmal. It was abysmal. It was all banging. I picked this up because my friend is like, oh, do you like to read? And I'm like, yeah. What do you like to read? And she's like, oh, I read like spicy books. And I was like, okay. Like what, you know? And so like I've read some of the books that she's read, but she doesn't read like the books that I read, you know what I mean? She doesn't really read horror. So I saw this at Barnes & Noble and it sounded familiar to me, and I was like, oh, maybe my friend told me about this one. So I picked it up and I read it, and then I saw her like a day or two later, and I was like, so I read this book, like expecting that she had read it, because I really don't know where I heard of it. And she's like, oh no, that one's too spicy for me. That one's a reverse harem. And I like had never heard that before, but then I'm like thinking about the plot, and it's like, oh yeah, that's totally it. It's just these three dudes banging this girl all the time. And each other. They're just all banging constantly. So this is about Mina. Of course her name's Mina. It's a vampire book. And she is a half vampire, and she's being forced to marry this vampire lord kind of guy, and they're like, oh, he's so cruel, and like he might just kill her and stuff like that. And it's like, oh no, it's just an insta-love situation, which I don't like. And also it ends up being so that like three of these guys are just like absolutely enamored with this person for no reason, which also is a thing that I don't know, I just don't understand that, because she's really not that interesting. And they're like magical beings and stuff, and it's like, I don't know, I feel like at least Sarah J. Maas's female characters are interesting, right? And then it's like, okay, well, there might be a 700-year age difference, but at least she likes baseball, you know? But this person was super boring, and she has to like get pregnant to, oh my god, to like take her father's throne and all this shit. It's just like so over the top. It's just like so fucking ridiculous. So entertainment wise, very entertaining, cringy. Love to read this out loud to Zach and giggle about it. But the plot was just like so dumb. Maybe if you're really looking for a book that is 100% for people banging, here it is. But don't go in expecting any substantial plot, because it's just not there. It's ridiculous and silly, and there's a lot of kinks in here, I think, when I think about it. So anyways, that's that. I read that book, and those are the books I read this month. I really liked Maeve Fly. That was my favorite book for sure, and Tell Me I'm Worthless is a close second, so definitely check those out. I will be doing a spoiler full review of Until Summer Comes Around by Rolfe in a separate video. I'm going to film that right now actually, so keep an eye out for that if you read that, or if you don't mind spoilers and would like to hear a discussion on it. But that's all I have for you guys today. Make sure to check out my social media stuff, my Pango books, if you want to see what I'm selling. I really need to add some stuff on there. And that's it. So I will see you guys later. Thank you so much. Goodbye.